So you may have noticed that a little over a month ago, I released a very short teaser for my game Insectarium. Well, chapter 1 of my game. For those of you just tuning in, Insectarium is a mascot horror puzzle game I'm making. I had originally started this project in early 2023 due to wanting to make a game better than the current mascot horror theme at the time. And now, I'm a little screwed in that, aren't I? I swear this wasn't intentional, but the first video I made talking about this project was only a couple days from the release date of Indigo Park, a very acclaimed mascot horror. I was literally editing that video when I got a notification for the release trailer, and I knew I had to get that video uploaded before Indigo release, or else I would have no chance at getting views. Not to mention, even Ban Ban, the game that inspired this whole thing, the second one, has, while not gotten good, I'd say at least enjoyable. Before, even if I did badly, I could at least have been better than the franchise that made me start it all, but apparently not. Seriously, if I didn't at one point decide I want to make the game good on its own merits, it would have been screwed. Well, thank goodness that I've had a pretty supportive reaction to both videos. Sure, not all the comments have been sunshine and rainbows, but I wasn't called a slur, so I'm doing better than if I had gone viral on Twitter or at school. So, what now? Well, let's start it with the most concrete, predictable, logical is the price. I've thought it over quite a bit since I wanted enough money to fund Chapter 2 while also not charging a ridiculous amount for like an hour of gameplay. Technically more since there's some visual novel slash RPG elements, so replayability is a factor. But anyways, so I decided that I'll be charging $3 USD for this chapter and all future chapters unless there's a large jump in scope. That way, the final game, if there are 5 chapters, will be $15. I'm making the first shorter chapter cost the same as the rest since it's my jumpstart. A little similar to how Indigo Park did it, except they had their jumpstart would be the Kickstarter instead of the game itself, costing money. I don't have that same luxury due to not being an already established creator, but I would have rather do it that way to allow more people to play the game. The game should release in mid 2025, and I'm sure that release could be even quicker with something I'll be revealing later on in the video. Now, with that boring stuff out of the way, on to the updates on the game itself. First off, if you saw the teaser, which if you didn't, I suggest you take it out, there is a computer in the game. Not only was I inspired by the indie horror Candido Pet, seeing as I really liked the idea of an in-game computer, but it was also because I knew the space I was working in the first chapter was quite small, being the literal break room that the printing facility used for their employees. Thankfully, facilities like that do employ many people, so I had an excuse to make it bigger than the average break room, and also because it would have been too small for an actual game if I made it the size of a real break room. The computer is going to not only contain information about the story, but it will be crucial to solving some of the puzzles the game has to offer. And when I say crucial, I mean crucial. Unless you get a walkthrough, there probably won't be a way to guesstimate the answer to the puzzles where the computer is key. I'm saying this like it's a revolutionary thing for a game to make its puzzles impossible to guess without getting proper clues, but what I mean is I'm trying to make sure it ain't too much of a gimmick. I've been trying to make sure that the computer is necessary and not just another way to get unnecessary hints. The inventory system is also pretty complete right now. Not everything, mind you. Things such as dropping items or just using items in general alongside some of the UI has not been completed, but the basics such as picking up items and item descriptions and all that jazz are good to go. Another thing I've implemented since then is choices. Well, technically it's been part of the game since before my initial video came out, but I didn't mention it there, so I'll mention it now. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm trying to stay away from comparing Insectarium to other mascot horror games, but it always struck me as odd that there was never any choice in those other games. The lack of choice is only really scary if you had an ability to choose in the first place. I'm not saying horror games have to let you choose, but I think it adds to the horror when you feel like you've caused what's happening to you. There are times where the complete lack of choice may be scarier. If Bendy and the Ink Machine had actually planned from the beginning about the whole game being a loop, I think they could have made that concept quite frightening. My choices are mostly going to be dialogue based, especially in the first chapter. It's not going to be an obvious, be nice or a jerk, and it'll probably be a few chapters in before people understand how those choices are really affecting the story. But I will make sure that the effects of your choices are somewhat shown in every chapter, including this one. I feel like it'd be useless to make you wait to know if what you're choosing has any effect. Since the release of my initial video, I've been making a lot of models. The rooms still look a little empty, but it's not all blank space like what before. Especially since there are now wall, floor, and ceiling textures. And since the teaser, I've been working on the lighting as well. I still have gotten lots to work on in that department, and also the modeling department, but it feels nice to look at something half decent while working on the game. I've already completed the character models for the two characters who will actually need one. I've technically got another model to work on, but I'll probably get away with 2D animation for him. I'll only really need to make a 3D model in Chapter 2 since he's actually going to be a minor antagonist in that one. I won't show my two models yet, surprises after all, but I will show the anime AI I made for one of them. Basically, her whole purpose is to go to a target and do whatever task she can do to that target. To food, she eats it. To Ian, the player, she is very affectionate. Your goal is to distract her with other things until you can solve the main puzzles in this section. Each target, including Ian, has a pointage system. The higher the points, the more likely she'll pick it as her target. For now, she just goes to whoever has the highest score, but these bars are meant to represent different aspects. As the sequence goes on, her priorities will change from being hungry to wanting companionship, so it'll get harder to distract her. I know it's really simple, but I made most, if not all, of this programming myself. And I'm sure any non programmers who made a game, or hell, programmers in the audience, know that feeling of making a program and it working by yourself. Well, in my case, with bits and pieces from Google, but still my own composition. My only issue with this is that the AI seems to calculate distance all around itself instead of just in front and doesn't acknowledge walls in the distance. I know it knows what directions is in front. I added this little head not only to resemble the character, but also to know the direction she's going. But it seems like my attempts don't work. Either I'll find a way to fix it, or just figure out a different way to categorize accessibility. I was already planning to have some of it be about how high an object is, so that might be what I use for that bar instead. With the major updates to the game I can talk about out of the way, now on to the last section. As I alluded to in the logistics session, there could be a chance that the game gets released even quicker with your help, or whoever else fills a role. I'm hiring people. I've decided to do it on delayed payment, so do keep that in mind. I'm currently looking for 2 voice actors and a music composer. The specifics of the roles will be in the casting call, I'll link in the description, but keep in mind that the voices are both male presenting. However, if you fall under neither category but want to contribute, I suggest communicating with me on Twitter about whatever it is you want to contribute and what your range would be. At first, I thought I'd want to do this project completely on my own for this first chapter, minus voice actors, not only because of payment, but also as a matter of pride. After all, how impressive is it to develop a game on your own? But, like I also alluded to at the beginning of the video, my ego is less important than the quality of the game. The reason why I'm looking for a music composer specifically is that it's just not something I know how to do. I play piano and have a sense of rhythm, but I don't know horror or composition enough to make something all that great, along with having to make the rest of the game. And that's about it. I know this video doesn't have all that much meat, but how long you guys waited for it. But I suppose that's what happens when your game is in the everything's a spoiler phase. Haha. Anyways, bye bye!